How
Freeman.
you doing, Hope?
Hey, Freeman.
How's it going? How's it going?
I am good. It's good. It's great. I'm happy that you did the thing. Why? Oh, okay. There we go. I'm happy that you did the thing because that's the only reason I got on here tonight. I only got on here because I wanted to like go live with other people and like engage in just regular schmegular conversation. Um,
You
with
know what,
y'all.
Hope? I'm glad you did that. I've seen quite a few of your videos, and let me just first off start by saying I love the way you articulate yourself. Like every time I watch one of your videos, I be like, I'm gonna be the male equivalent to that. Like I'm like I love the way you be you because you it just like when I watched the NAACP video you did, I watched it multiple times. And
Mm.
I was like, the way she be wording her stuff, like she bad, bro. Like she be on it, like for real, for real. Like the crazy part is the if you ever seen one of my lives, I
Mm-hmm.
really don't do what I do in my live, like what I be wanting to do. I've been see, this could turn into a long conversation because I actually like talking to you. Like I didn't want to hit the join button because I just like to hear you talk. That's the crazy part. But I was like, I want to talk to her. I was like, let me go there and talk to her real quick. I agree with a lot of your perspectives, especially when it comes to like sitting on panels and talking to people and being involved in certain conversations. Because you know what I'm saying, you don't want to be. It's like you don't want to be perceived a certain way and you don't want to be misperceived. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. I promise you I get it. Another thing, I be trying to like I try to like sit around in certain rooms or panels or certain situations just because I don't want people to think, you know, he try to separate himself or he think he too good. But something I have been learning as of recent is to not care about how people think or feel about you. And that's been helping me with a lot of my growth lately, like for real, for real.
Mm.
But I was just watching you just now when you was talking. I was like, I could learn a lot from her, man. Like for real, for real. I really can see, like, even when you were saying you like you're a consultant and stuff, I was like, I can see her being somebody's mentor. And then I can see her being my mentor shit on some real shit. Cause she just be like, she be putting it out there the way I want to. Like I feel like I have a voice that needs to be used for a certain purpose. And I feel like I'm not utilizing it to the best of my ability when it comes to talking about current events and politics and you know, things that we go through in the community and you know, the culture. Like I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But because I'm trying to get myself more exposure, it's like I feel like I exploit myself in ways to get motion so that I can get the benefactor of having the ability to get to those places where I want to speak and be in certain rooms. And I know that sounds messed up, but it's like I don't know any other way to do it, if that makes sense. I don't.
No, I hear you. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm starting to hear that a lot more, and so I'm trying to like stay grounded when I hear those things, or not look like glazed over because I know sometimes people are like, "Are you okay?" And it's because I'm trying to look and I'm trying to convey how I feel on my face without also looking just like overwhelmed by the information. So if it was coming off weird, it's just
Yeah,
because
you.
I
Every time I see you, you make me proud. When I see you, I feel internally proud when I see you. Like it's a good feeling.
I really appreciate that, but I do want to address the thing that you just named, which is the idea of feeling like you have to exploit yourself in order to get an audience. And one of the things that I tell people all the time is that slow and steady wins the race. I've been a content creator since before it was actually called content creation. Like it's crazy for me to think about it sometimes, but I have hopefuls, and that's what I call my supporters, or what people would call my fans. I don't believe in fans. I believe in having people that support you and they want to see you win. And I call my supporters
I
my
feel you.
hopefuls. And I
Okay,
have
okay.
hopefuls that have watched me, like literally people who have watched me from college when I started doing this up until now. Like I have people that have literally grown up with me and that remember me being in my dorm room when I had a little Target light that was like shining on me because I couldn't afford a ring light, and now here it is. Like,
Yeah.
and this is only going to get better and bigger and hopefully, if that's the plan for my life, like this will get better and bigger and continue to evolve. But I say that to say this: there was a point where I was doing the thing that I felt like was going to get me virality. And I was doing the thing that I felt like was going to get people to see me. And for a while,
Mm.
it worked, right? But because I'm a student, I'm a constant student, I'm a person that always wants to learn. I have friends that are way more popular than me, more famous. Like anybody that knows me knows that like I'm really good friends with T.S. Madison. Like I have these types of people in my corner. And when I was about in like I want to say like maybe year 3 of my content creation career, back in the day, because like I said, y'all, I've been doing this for a minute, and so he's not as popular anymore. But when this conversation happened, he was really popular. I don't know how many of you all remember. Oh Lord Jesus, I'm forgetting his stage name because I don't use his stage name anymore. But his name is Bijan. But he's a very popular, or he was a very popular YouTube Malibu Dollface. That's his YouTube name. And so Malibu Dollface was a very popular YouTuber at the time, and him and I were like really good friends. And I remember one day I was like, Malibu, like I need your help. Like I feel like I'm stagnant. I don't know what's going on. Like I just don't feel like I'm getting the connection that I need to get with my people. And he was like, sis, here's the thing. You are a really great reader, right? Like you gonna come on here and you gonna read a bitch eyes out the back of their head, and it's gonna floor the room. It's gonna make everybody snap and clap. But the problem with that is that your content then becomes, I'm only gonna watch Hope when she's reading, right? And that content is gonna go
Yep, yep,
viral.
yep.
That content is going to do great. But then when you just want to be Hope, when you just want to talk about music, when you just want to, share a story time or whatever the case may be, people are not going to tune in because they're tuning into
Yep,
the
yep.
thing that you look like you want to do the most. And a lot of your stuff is either going to be stagnant, or you're going to pigeonhole yourself into a space where even though you don't want to be known as the girl who reads, because you're so caught up on trying to keep the views and keep the virality, you're gonna be forced to
Right,
do
right.
that. And
Mm.
after me and Bijan had that conversation, I made a complete 360 shift in the way that I did content. And I only read
Mm.
people when it was necessary. And I started to really talk about the things that were important to me, and I started to do the things that felt natural to me. And that was where the initial version of Late Nights with Hope was born, because I used to work at Mac and I used to close the store sometimes. So I would get off of work at, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't sleep. And so I would come home and I was styling my hair every night. So I had 20 or so odd wigs, and I would every night for the next day of work, I would style a different wig, and I started to call those wig talks. And so for as long as it took me to style that wig was as long as it took me to talk to my audience. And I learned that people will buy into whatever it is that you sell them. Thank you, Freeman. People will buy into whatever it is that you are
Welcome,
selling
welcome.
them, and whatever it is that you feel passionate about. And I had to understand and realize that it wasn't that people only wanted to see me read, it was that was all I was selling them. People didn't know
Yep,
that I
yep,
liked
yep.
anime. People didn't really know that I could do my own hair. People didn't know that I was making my own wigs until I started selling them that version of myself. Once people know that Freeman likes to watch anime, once people know that Freeman actually loves a good rom com and don't nobody know about it, like once people start to understand that you really enjoy talking about politics, or you watch CNN every day and you know how to give a really great breakdown so that Black people understand what the fuck was going on, then they follow what they see that you are passionate about. But if you selling sex, if you selling, bare chest, if you selling all of the things, then that's what people show up for. And then when you are not doing that, people are like, oh, Freeman ain't giving Freeman today. I come back when the shirt off, you know?
Oh, I swear to God, I have had that conversation happen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was on live last night, right? I was just vibing. I was chilling. I had like some jazz music playing, And somebody was in the comments, they was like, "Oh, he ain't cutting up tonight." I was like, "All right, well, I was just sliding through the speak," and I was like, "Damn, it's kind of fucked up." Like,
Yeah.
I'm putting on some soft music so everybody can just chill. Like, I know we be overstimulated a lot. Like, I was putting on something to calm everybody's nervous system. Did nobody want to hear that though? They want Freeman to be dancing and sagging and turning up and flipping back in the chair with my legs up, and I'm just like, and I had to talk with my mom about this. I literally told my mom, and she was like, "Stop saying that." I was like, "Mom, but it's the truth." I was like, I feel like I've over sexualized myself to the point to people only see me as a sex object. I said, and the thing that hurts the most about that is because I know I'm so much more than that. And I was even in a relationship. I was one of the like original OnlyFans Twitter boys before like the pandemic when everybody used to frown on it and say I could never do that. I would never do that. And
Mm-hmm.
now those same people are on there doing it because like the you know the coronavirus and COVID hit and
Yeah.
everybody figured out that was a fast way to make money, right? So when I was doing that, I had a boyfriend at the time, and he told me, um, and Freeman is my last name. That's my government name. That's my family name, but my first name is Travis. He was like, Travis, you know, you have so much to offer the world. Like your mind is so powerful. Like the way you speak, the things you talk about, the perspective you have about different ideas and certain ideologies, and you love to read. You love to read books. You're a writer. You love to write. Like you're an avid reader, an avid writer. Like why don't you give those things? Like it's so many gifts and talents that you've been blessed with and that have been bestowed upon you. Why don't you use those gifts and those talents to actually, you know, garner an audience for yourself and move around in spaces where people are like minded like you and are interested in the same type of things. And he was like, I feel like you shortchanging yourself because all you put out there and all you present is sex. And I'm just like, damn, like when he said it, like it clicked with me, and I was like, "You right." But it's like once I got into it, I couldn't stop because it was like it became the norm. It was what I was used to, and then on top of that, it was what people were expecting. And like even now on TikTok, I'm so glad I'm having this conversation with you because you are like the way your mind works. Like I have a very unorthodox way of thinking. I love the way your mind works because it doesn't give me the standard or the typical or average. Like I can see myself having this conversation with so many other people, and I'll be getting met with all this like crazy shit. But you, even with you now, you're intently listening to what I'm saying, like so you can give me like a response that's gonna be of some type of knowledge to me, or it's gonna be beneficial to help me grow. Right? I can tell. I can look at you and tell that. But anybody else, they'll be like, man, just keep doing that. You know what I'm saying? That's what people like. That's what they love. And I'm like, it's not necessarily about what the people love and they like. I want to do what's gonna make me happy too. Like I don't always like. It's been times where you know what I'm saying. I've been homeless multiple times before. I was stripping when I was in college. I had to escort when I was in college. There was so many times I had to exploit myself to keep a roof over my head. Like I want to talk about the things that other people within the community have gone through and been through and have experienced that could literally help somebody else. And everybody tells me all the time, "Oh my God, you have this amazing voice. You should do like a podcast, or you should do voiceovers, or you should do some sort of voice acting, or radio personality, or you should get into something like that." And my thing is, I'm like, if I do that, if I want to do that, and I really do it for myself to be happy, because I want to do something like that. I've been hearing this all my life. Like if I had half a cent for every time somebody told me this, I would be set for the rest of life because I've heard it so much. And it's like I want to do those things. I'm just trying to find, I guess the right direction to go in with it and when I can start. And it's like I see all these videos come across my For You page that be like, you know what I'm saying, the change starts now. You don't have to wait for a particular moment. You don't have to wait for things to be perfect. You can start doing it right now. And it's like even with that, I've been debating on like taking certain videos down off my page, you know. And somebody said something to me. They was like, well, what if you start losing your followings? And I'm like, well, if you really think about it, if I'm going to do this and it's important to me, it's not about the following. I'm like, the impact is gonna happen. It may take some time, you know what I'm saying? I may, like you just said, it may be stagnant for a while because that's not what people are accustomed to seeing from me, but it'll eventually happen. But I just want to hear your perspective and take on it because even with the information you just said right before I started speaking on when I responded to you, that was even helping me because I'm like, she right, like she like that's literally how I feel.
You know what's interesting about it is that there are some people who are going to encourage you to do a thing that you're telling them actively that you feel stagnant in because they enjoy that thing. And a part of them gets something from you remaining in that space, even though you are actively telling those people that you're trying to move somewhere differently. And this is for everybody. This is not just for Travis. This is for all of y'all. If you are actively telling people that you want to elevate, that you want to grow, that this thing that you're doing is not fulfilling you in the same way that it was before, it's not that you're saying that it's bad now. It's that you're saying that you want to elevate it, or that you want to move away from it so that you
Yeah,
can do something that makes you
absolutely.
feel better. And those people tell you, oh, like, but why? Like, just do this thing. Always investigate why they are asking you to remain in a space that you just told them makes you feel unfulfilled. What do they get
Mm,
out of your stagnation? Because that will be the answer to whether or not that person is there, and whether or not you decide to continue to deal with them after you do rebuild. A lot of people want you to remain stagnant because they get something from your stagnation. Never forget that. Do not allow that to become a minuscule thing that you let sit in the back shelf of your mind, because sometimes in asking yourself that question, you'll realize that a person was a leech and you didn't realize it until you actually had to think about why they would
mm,
want you to stay in this place. And then you'll understand
mm,
that even if this person wasn't getting money from you, they weren't getting sex from you, there was something that they do get from seeing you remain in a position that you yourself are understanding is not the best position for you to stay in, at least at this particular point in your life. So that's the first thing. Always
mm.
examine the why. Why would somebody that cares about me want me to remain in a space and time in my life that I'm requiring of myself elevation and growth,
Mm,
right? Then, number two, when you say things like, oh, I see the videos. I think we all see the videos that's like, oh, the time is now. Do it now. I've even made videos that's like, do it
right.
scared. Like I've been on the interviews and said stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And those things are true. Howsoever, the thing that I've left out, and I'm glad that you pointed it out because it made me think about when I've said those things myself, is you can do it now, but you have to do it motivated. And I think that that's the thing that a lot of us leave out when we're having those motivational talks with y'all, like, oh, do it now, do it scared, do it whatever. And it's because we forget to tell y'all to do it when you're motivated. Some of my best work has
Mm,
happened, I shit you all not, on a random day when I decided, you know what, today is the day. I'm going to buy the domain name. I'm going to design the shirts. I'm going to start writing the script. I'm going to do the thing. My first book was written in a year because one day I woke up and I said, so bitch, you going to write this book or not? And my motivation
mm,
carried me through that entire year, and it put me in the mind frame of the fact that if I was going to ever tell this story, I needed to start working on it now. But I was also in a place where mentally, physically, emotionally, and socially, I had everything that I needed to buckle down and do the thing so that this book can be written, right? It's not enough to be like,
mm.
oh, if I fail, if I whatever, at least I did it. I took a leap out of faith. You have to be motivated in that
Right,
leap. If you're not motivated to change, don't do it yet. If you're not motivated
right, right,
to hold on to this new principle that you're trying to get people to understand about you, don't do it yet, because you're going to waste their time, you're going to waste
mm,
your time, and then when you backslide, it's going to be even harder because it's going to be a backslide of perceived failure on your part. You're going to tell
right,
yourself,
right,
oh, I might as well go back to this because that shit was stupid, I shouldn't have done that. And it's not that it was stupid, it's not that you shouldn't have done it, it's that you should have waited until you were ready, and not just because you saw a
ready
video
for it.
that
Yeah,
made you feel like, oh, I'm inspired to just do this thing. That person was inspired to make that video, which is why it sounded so good. You were not inspired to move and change your
mm,
entire life just because of that video. You were inspired by the words, but it don't mean that your body was ready to do to do the actions, right? So
right,
those are
right.
just things that like I would bring to the table, and I would kind of sort of open to anybody who wants to do that shift is you got to do the thing that you are motivated by, but in the time that you are motivated to do it. I don't do anything that I don't feel like doing, which is why Brooke got on here and Brooke was like, "Am I late?" No, you weren't late. I just wasn't motivated to get on here at 9 o'clock. I was sitting on my couch with my husband. He fell asleep. I enjoyed listening to him sitting there snoring, and I was scrolling watching other people. And I didn't. I watched the time. I literally I watched it. It went from 7:30 to 8:30 to 8:59, and I was like, I'm not going upstairs. I don't feel like it right now, right? But something motivated me because I was on my way to the shower. And I was like, you know what? Let me just sit down and talk to the people for a second. I was motivated to do this. And now look at the conversation that we're having, right? And so I think that when we are people who are trying to figure out what our brand is, what our voice is, how we're going to reach the masses, we have to think about doing things that we enjoy and doing things that we love. The reason why my videos hit so well isn't just because of my vernacular. It's not just because of my delivery. It's not just because of the research. It's because I talk about things that I'm passionate about. A lot of people send me shit every day. Ooh, Hope, make a video about this. Ooh, Hope, did you see this? Ooh, Hope, da, 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 da. And baby Hope was taking every request I could get. If I got somebody to send me a prompt in my inbox, if they sent it at 5:05, by 5:20, I made a video about it, right? And I don't do that shit no more because I'm making videos about shit that other people are passionate about. And oh, hey,
Right.
Bob. I'm making videos about things that other people are passionate about. And what I had to realize was that you have to do the things that you feel the most passionate about. And when I started to talk about the things that I was passionate about, those videos were the videos that started to really make people think. Those videos were the videos that, like you said, Freeman, are the ones where you really sat back and you were just like, wow, I'm moved and I'm motivated, and the way that you spoke about that, and I could speak about those things in those particular ways because I was passionate about them and I wanted other people to have the information that I got, and those things translated to my audience.
I love it. I love it. And I like how you said too, you figured out there was no need for you to respond to everything all the time. Like I see a lot of things come across the For You page and I wanna, you know what I'm saying, I wanna insert my perspective and I'm like, is that gonna be beneficial for me or somebody else? Or am I just responding because I feel the need to say something because I see everybody else saying something? And I
Absolutely.
always to pull back and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna say nothing because it's really no need. Like but I like how you just got me to understand like even in the moments of you doing it, I need to be motivated and ready. Like it has to be a time when I feel it in my spirit to move at that time to do that thing, and that's when it's gonna come across. It's gonna be received better because it's gonna be the most authentic moment. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that. I really do. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Charlie, I see that you popped up. Did you want to add anything to the conversation, or did you have a question that you wanted to ask?
Well, I was just wanting to say hello because I have just recently discovered you, like as of 2 days ago. So I'm new to this place because I saw your uh Matt Rogers Bone Yang post, and I was like, I need to send this to everyone that I have ever met right now because it was one of the best reads, and it was so good, and it just hit it just hit everywhere, and I so I want to say thank you for that and appreciate that. um and then my question to you is, what do you do when you feel unmotivated? You're talking about like, do it when you're motivated, do it when all of that stuff, but when you want to do it but you're like, but I'm not motivated to do it, or I'm you feel like that well is running dry. How do you handle that?
You know what's interesting about that is that that happens quite often, and I think because as a person, I think being a black trans woman who doesn't fit stereotypical narratives, I always feel like that because I look at my peers and my sisters who are entertainers or makeup artists or stylists or things that people are comfortable, right, with trans women being. and I see how the numbers move and the brand deals come in and the things go. And I look at my content sometimes and I'm like, well, maybe I need to sex it up a little bit more, Freeman, right? Like maybe I need to sex it up a little bit more. Maybe I need to get in this bikini. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to do that. And in the process of trying to do those things, I drain myself and it becomes this tiring cycle because I'm like, I don't really want to do that, right? Like it's cute sometimes and I am that girl as well, but for the most part I'm an educator. I'm a person that wants people to understand. I'm a bridge maker, right? And it's one of those things where people are comfortable with trans folks and queer people at large being comic relief. But when you get on here and you say things like this government is playing us and here's how, when you get on here and you show people that you speak more languages than just American or African American, vernacular English, people are like, I don't like it. She remind me too much of girls that I actually consider to be women, and I don't want to start to respect them through her, so I'm gonna leave. And those are the days that haunt me the most. But I think that what really gets me moving and what gets me motivated is that I'm doing this, and I remind myself that I am doing this because I did not see a Hope.Disguised when I was coming up. No tea, no shade. Laverne was out here, but she wanted to be an actress. So she wasn't doing the work that I'm doing. You had Janet Mock, but when she popped up and popped out, it was a book tour after a book tour after a book deal after a book deal after, there wasn't any mentoring of the people to show us how she got where she got because she was in her moment actively. And so I think about what happens if I let my fatigue and if I let my desire to also have the fruits of my labor be recognized stop me from actually doing it. There's another girl that's going to feel like, well, damn, Hope don't exist no more, so maybe I shouldn't go that route. Well, damn, Hope gave up, so maybe it's not worth my time. Well, damn, Hope used to do this, but now she's not doing this no more. And so maybe there's something that she found out that I didn't find out, so now I'm not going to do it. And then what happens is that the same craving that I had when I was coming up, that same desire, that same that thirst for a person that looked like me and that represented the people that I represent, and is saying the things in the way that I'm saying them and lives the life that I would like to live and is a possibility model for me, ceases to exist. And then what ends up happening is that we go back to the space that was there before I existed. And that makes me sad. So even when I can't find myself in a space of motivation that day through my own volition, I find myself motivated by the people who have told me, Hope, I'm in school because of you, bitch. Hope, I took that class because of you. Hope, girl, I made that video about that thing because of you. Hope, I sat down and I had a conversation with my professor about misgendering me because of you. Hope, I've decided to get out of sex work because of you. I made a 5-year plan, right? Those are things that inspire me, and they remind me, bitch, if you not doing it, who's gonna be doing it? And it's not to say that I'm the only person that can do it. It's not to say that I'm the best bitch to ever touch a computer screen and a mouse pad. But it is to say that the thing that I set out to do, I'm doing it. And if I stop, not only because, oh, I'm fatigued or because I don't feel like it that day, if I stop because I don't feel like I'm going to touch the same level of infamy as Madison, or the same type of beauty envy that Amaya has, or I'm not going to get the same type of auditions as Angelica was getting, then I lose sight of the fact that there are people who are still counting on me to show up and be a possibility model for a completely different reason. And so if I cloud my judgment now that I'm here in some of the space and allow myself to believe that my goal was just to be one of the bitches that are known, I forget why I wanted to be known in the first place.
Right.
And that motivates me to continue to do this shit even when I'm tired.
Okay. Ooh. Yes. Thank you for that. I needed to hear that tonight.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was
Because even with you saying that, I'm sitting up here asking myself, are you trying to be impactful and like change people's lives, change their perspectives, challenge them to think about things a different way, impact, or are you trying to be known? I'm literally sitting up here and I'm like, well, known really ain't getting nobody nowhere these days. I mean, known is nice, But what's the use of being known if you're not making an impact in the first place?
Correct.
I love that. I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
and I
I
think I
love
think
that.
that's it's so easy to, at least for me, when I like scroll through TikTok and I'm looking through my social media, it's so easy to see people who don't look like me, who are not talking about anything, who are not about anything, being like perceiving them as being more successful or having more followers or doing all this other stuff. And it's easy to get into your head to be what am I missing here?
Yeah.
And so like I have to battle that because I'm like, I'm not missing anything. I just need to keep doing what I need to do and keep pushing on what I want to talk about and the things that are important to me, because just because you have 100,000 followers or whatever doesn't necessarily mean that you are about anything. Like your product might not be great. So I have to remind myself about that.
But you know what I think is also because I sit in a space of nuance. But also before I get into that, because I don't want to just ignore. I think I know why Bob came up here, but I don't want to assume. But Bob, do you have anything you want
Why,
to add to the
why you
conversation?
think I came up here?
Because I feel
Why
like
you think I came up here?
I believe that you believe in the message and the person that I am. And I think that you understand what visibility looks like. And so sometimes just being in the space and bringing more people into the space can be valuable. And I wasn't sure that you necessarily wanted to be a part of the conversation, but I think that you know what your presence brings. And so sometimes just like sitting here and just being like, no, I'm here. They're gonna come in the room and they'll get a different perspective. Might have been at least I assume, because I feel like your intentions are good, and I don't think that you have a malicious intention, and so that's why I thought that you might have just like requested just to like bring more people to the space for the conversation because you were enjoying it.
I don't have no malicious intentions is crazy.
Yeah,
No,
no.
I no, I mean, I'd be joining a live sometime if I see someone who I'm like, oh, I like what they're saying, but I know that, my little couple milli followers be some of them be up at 3:14 in the morning. But I also I like popping in too, but I actually like to talk less than people think I do sometimes. I think people think I like to hear myself more than I do. And I don't normally give a lot of advice. I don't think I give great advice because I'm not a nihilist, but I'm not a nihilist. You know what I mean? I believe stuff matters because it matters now and because it matters to me. So sometimes when I do something in my life, it's not for the future, but it's just for the moment. If I see a person who needs help right now, I'm like, oh, this person needs help in this moment. I mean, I'm not a nihilist. I'm not like a pessimistic bitch or anything, but I am a little less. Maybe I'm a little more T.S. Madison than I am Hope Giselle because I'm not as I don't know I don't always say the super intelligent stuff, but I do like to listen and platform when I can.
That's
No,
what's up.
I
That's what's up.
appreciate that. I really I that first of all that's funny as hell. I feel like I think that I try to give nuance to my stuff. I think that people pop in and it's hard for me, I think, not to dig into my bag when people ask certain things. Like there'll be sometimes where I get on with the intention to pop my shit, listen to my music or whatever the case may be, and somebody will ask me a question and I'm just like, damn, I kind of gotta go to this space in order to really get people the meat and potatoes of the thing. But I think I juggle it
Mm.
well. Right. But it is one of those things where I just feel like to go back to the point that you were making, Charlie, about um the desire to kind of sort of like see yourself getting tired but not giving up and like really thinking about what that really means. I think for me I've always been in a space where like I've been fighting, and I think over the last couple of years as my visibility has grown, I fight with my desire to have my work recognized in the same way that other people's work is recognized. I fight with my activism and my advocacy work where it's just like, but you're doing this for the people and the people are fed, so fuck the rest of that shit. I fight with the fact that I know, and I feel like this is narcissistic in a way, but like I fight with the fact all the time that I know that if I were a cisgender Black woman with the education that I have, with the accolades that I've, come up with the amount of people and the institutions that have backed and supported me and given me their stamp of approval, that, I would be Lene Beni. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have been parking lot pimping before parking lot pimping was a thing if I were a Black cisgender woman. But because I'm not, there's this deliberate, like, let's stomp that fire out. She ain't funny, she's not raunchy, she's not gonna give us the stereotypical story. Oh, she married, and he handsome, and he Black. Oh nah, she's too much of a possibility model. We can't have these bitches thinking that they can have a regular life, right? And so I struggle with all of those different things, and I think I struggle with it hard sometimes because I always have to reel myself back in and be like, "But bitch, that ain't why you doing it though. That ain't why you doing it though. Those
Hey,
things
Hope,
are nice."
it's just like you said. It's just like you said in your video. You said, and I literally wrote this in your comments. You said Black folks who do not fit the palatable excellence template are being treated like we're adjacent to Blackness instead of integral to it. When you
Absolutely.
said that, I said, "Ooh,
Oh,
shit,
yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, that
yeah."
Absolutely. There's a I think that there's a desire to really snuff out Black people who have a different way of thinking about how Blackness should look and what Black excellence looks like. I actually saw a creator today. I'm not sure if the video came out today or like when it came out, but it hit my timeline today, and he said that Black excellence is really nothing more than classism dressed up as, excellency.
I've seen that
And,
before.
there is this desire for people to say that something is excellent because a Black person is on the Forbes billionaire list, or because a Black person made it to the Met Gala, or because a Black person did this thing. But then I also, as I'm watching that, I'm like, yeah, and also, because I think that when those things are bestowed upon people who are considered to be Black undesirables, don't nobody give a fuck. It's like, why would, then it's not Black excellence, then it's why would they choose that person to go to the Met Gala? Why is that person's platform worth $1 billion? Because they just, they just gay. Like, why do they deserve, to make $1 billion, right? The goalpost is often and always, in my opinion, moved when it's one of us. When it's a disabled Black person, when it's a queer Black person, when it's a trans person or a drag queen or an OnlyFans creator, right? There's always going to be a goalpost movement when it comes down to those folks as it pertains to Black excellence. But as long as you are cisgender, assumedly heterosexual, and Black, you can pretty much, spell your name with Cheerios, and that's going to be considered Black excellence, especially if a white person stamps it so. And those are things that I think that we have to call in and call out, which is the reason why I made the NAACP video that you mentioned earlier, Freeman, is because I had to do a lot of research before I sat down with that video. One, because every creator that was in that category that had been nominated, I am friends with. Like, not fake friends. Like, I talk to these people on a regular to semi-regular basis. They call me, I call them. Like, we've been out, we've gone out. Like, me and George have been to Africa together, for God's sakes, right? And so I did not want those people to feel like I was coming for them or that I was assuming anything about their worthiness of being nominated. But I did want to call in the system that constantly ignores Black queer people who are not gay men that they deem as acceptable, or lesbian women that they've said, okay, well, we as the Black delegation have decided that lesbian Black women are cool, to vibe with. But when it comes down to trans creators, it bothered me and it mind boggled me that in a category for content creators that is literally titled culture and politics, that not a single one of the Black trans women who have held last year down were nominated, right? But before I made that video, I had to ask myself something. What were the qualifications? In being nominated, is it a people's choice thing? So is this a video that I need to make, with the nuance of calling my family in and saying, family, we weren't nominated, but it's also because it's people's choice. And so if you queer and you following us, you have to nominate us next year. Or is this a money grab, right? Because the Webbies, I won one. It's up here somewhere, right? But I had to pay to even be put into the running for that. So once I did my research, I was like, okay, so you have to pay for it.
Mhm.
And then I thought about people who have larger platforms than me because I was like, well, you know what, Hope? You all right in the queer community, but a lot of people don't know you like that. Like you're known in certain circles because you know CEOs, but not because the people that matter are following you. So let's see if larger creators were snubbed as well. And I called Madison and I was like, Madison, did you submit for an NAACP award? And she was like, yeah, iHeart put me in there. Outlaws was one of the larger podcasts on iHeartRadio's platform last year. Not to mention every other word out of anybody's mouth as it pertained to both culture and politics was trans, 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 trans. And here you are, you have a woman who has been deemed one of the queens of social media who just so happens to be trans, and they did submit her podcast, and y'all didn't nominate her. That feels strange to me. And so when I made that video, I had to go through a couple of different stanzas. What am I upset about? What is it that I want people to understand when I'm done talking? How do I want people to feel about this message? And what is my ask at the end of all of it? And the ask is for both understanding, representation, and visibility, while also calling in the fact that the system is also rigged against a marginalized group of people. Because if the girls got to decide whether or not they're going to pay $450 to $2,000 for a nomination plea, which is essentially what that is, because it's not guaranteed that you're going to become a nominee just because you pay that money. But if the girls have to decide between paying $450 for a $450 to $2,000, sorry, for a nomination plea, and paying for their HRT, getting their FFS, buying a new passport, getting a name change, the girls are going to always opt out for the things that's going to keep them safe in the real world. But it does not mean that their work and all of the time that we've spent putting into being cultural and political commentators should be overlooked. Right? Even in a space where I don't fuck with Angelica, but she does the work. And so how can she be on this Beyonce's internet doing the work, actively talking out and speaking out against Palestine? Some would say that's part of the reason why, she stopped getting booked and things like that. This woman literally put her career, her body, all of her things on the line, and y'all are gonna look over her, and there's no nomination, like there's nothing there. I wanted to lead in a space
Are you
that
talking about Angelica Ross?
yeah. She
Okay,
was
okay,
nominated,
okay.
but she was nominated not in the, and I think that that's another distinction. So here's the other thing that I was talking about, you all, as it pertains to trans people and well, not just trans people, but for right now I'm talking about trans people in this instance, but usually queer black people, disabled people, black people who are just undesirables in some sense of the word. I want to also name that because I saw that people were like, well, there were trans people that were nominated, but I'm specifically talking about in a content creator process. A lot of those people that were nominated in that category were people who have been nominated for the last 3 years. No tea, no shade. And they all deserve their nomination. Howsoever, I'm not seeing any new faces, and especially during a year where Black trans femme voices specifically were some of the loudest voices. In a world where half, I don't even want to say half, I want to say everybody on this side of the world was saying Puerto Rican every time they saw a wet and wavy wig because of T.S. Madison. It's impossible for me to believe that y'all don't understand the impact both culturally, and then when we think about when Madison does get into her bag politically, how somebody like that is just ignored in a space that is for Black people when so many Black people are impacted by this woman's presence, including one of the women that we all tote over, Beyonce. How does Beyonce say, these words impact me, they hit me culturally, politically? We all know the words to Cozy, including Madison's breakdown, because those words were
Mhm.
factual for so many people. Bitch, I'm Black. It wasn't about Madison being trans. It wasn't just about the idea of Madison being a woman. It was about the idea that no matter whether I am light skinned, dark skinned, beige, or super motherfucking black, bitch, I'm black and I deserve to be seen out in this world. And I think that when you have thought processes and think pieces being written just around that snippet, to exclude the black trans woman that said it, very likely because she's trans, is a choice. And as black people, we've got to start to name those things and call those things in. But I also feel like when you're the person that's always doing this, right? Like I'm doing this right now. Some people are like, Hope, you always mad. Hope ain't never happy. Hope don't never, like, why you can't just let Well Enough be alone? Angelica got nominated for the little animation thing. Just shut the fuck up, right? It becomes that burden, and I have to toe the line between what's necessary to say and what do I just want to get off my chest. And then it starts
Can I
to
throw
get into
a
this
little
tug of
notion in there
war, you
too?
know? Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I am chronically online. I just want to say real quick. I am always on the call. I am always on. I have seen everything on TikTok, everything on YouTube. I'm not saying I'm proud of it, but I'm saying it's true. It's just a fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sometimes when we talk about like sometimes we say like if people saying like Hope is always mad or Hope is always this or Hope is always that. But that doesn't. But even if that irritates someone, it doesn't mean that what the person is saying is wrong. Kind of like what Samara is doing, the girl, the big girl who does all the fat phobia stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's two discussions online. One conversation I see is, oh, she's annoying, and the other conversation I'm seeing is, but she's right. Even if it annoys you, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. And in fact, what it probably does is gives you an opportunity to reflect on why you feel the way that you feel, why you respond in the way you're responding. But it doesn't mean that it's not annoying. It is sometimes when you want to have fun and you and your friends are being messy, and then one of your friends is like, well, that's not great. What they're saying is true, and they did spoil your fun, but that's not necessarily but both things can be true at once. It's okay to live in a little bit of discomfort and be like, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable because I got called out for something I did. But me and my friend were a while back talking, this is so minuscule, we were talking about pop divas, talking about the divas.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends said something about one of the divas and about how she had this plastic surgery. And he was like, "Now I don't think her worth doesn't matter as much because of all the surgery. She looks ridiculous." And I said, "Well, that's a little." I said, "Well, that's a little, anti-feminist. That's a little misogynistic." But we were still having fun and kikiing in the moment. But it really hurt his feelings. I took the air out of the room. And some people, that's kind of our position in life, is to always take that out of the room. Not even if you're doing it on purpose, it's just kind of how we are. But it doesn't mean that what I said was wrong. It just didn't feel good to hear it when you were just trying to have fun. You know what I mean? But then one person takes it too far, like that Easy, I believe is her name,
Yeah.
the one who dressed up as Samara in the fat suit. And then some folks like, whoa, now we was kikiing, but we weren't doing all that. Now you done gone crazy. Because that's the step too far for you, but it wasn't the step too far for EZ, because they're at a different place and they're learning and they're awakening. They're at a very different place and what it means for them to realize that stuff is problematic, even though she knew it was, and now she's in her era where she's like, well, fuck y'all, and I don't care what y'all say. If you gonna sit here and be mad at me because I want to have fun, and it's like, yeah, we do want to be mad at you.
Yeah.
So now what?
Right. Now what? But what's really interesting to me about that is that whole situation for me is interesting because Easy, you've been a content creator long enough to know like the shit that's gonna fly and the shit that's not gonna fly. And I think that people test the waters with their audience once they feel like they get to a certain place where they're like, oh, well, if I do this and people come for me, my audience got my back. And it ain't enough bitches that like you in the world that's gonna windmill against this one, right? But I agree with you when you say like sometimes it sucks when you pull the air out of the room, but it's also like I think for me, the reason why like I tend to do it a lot more than most people is because I don't feel like myself if I don't say the thing. And then I feel like I'm betraying who I am at my core if I allow like transmisia or homophobia or some fucked up shit to go down and I'm in the room, because I always feel like there's gonna be somebody in the room who knows what I stand for fundamentally, who's going to use it as an opportunity to be like, well, I was in the room with Hope and this happened and she didn't say nothing. And so her entire fucking platform is fake. It's like, and I think that that's the other thing about some of this shit that like really sucks the air out of it for me sometimes is that it feels like I can't be like a real person sometimes because a bitch, I always feel like sometimes that people are trying to wait on their moment to have a thing to have on me. Like I was at this party.
But can I say too, Giselle,
Yep.
sometimes
Mhm.
there comes a moment where maybe in a moment like someone will say, "Oh, I saw Hope let something transphobic fly one time." I mean, I wouldn't let that get to you because sometimes you're tired, you don't have a fight in you. You know, pick your battles. Sometimes it's so egregious you're gonna say something, but every once in a while you're like, I just don't have a fight in me today. You know, I was in a live a while. I was hosting a live. I wasn't really hosting. I was just platforming all these trans women who wanted to talk about activism, and I was on live, and they were all just talking, and I was just hosting the room. And then one of the girls said something. It was honestly kind of profound. I actually kind of gagged, and it gagged all the girls. She said, and tell me how you feel about this. I'm not a trans woman, so I can't even speak on it.
Mhm.
She said, I want the rights and I want to have all the stuff that trans women deserve to have, but I don't want to fight for it. I don't want to go to the street. I just want it and I don't want to have to fight for it. And I think some people are fighters and some people are not. And I think that some of the women in the room were like, well, that's fucked up. And then one woman said, you know what? That's actually kind of valid. Like, it's okay to not be a fighter. Everyone's not an activist. But you still deserve rights. Even if you're not an activist, you still deserve the rights. No one's saying you don't deserve the rights. And maybe one day you will have that fight in you. Maybe one day you will be like, actually, now I want to, get in the fray and throw my hat in the ring and add in my 2 cents and make my video or hold my picket sign. But everyone can't hold a picket sign every day. But but that doesn't mean someone's not gonna try to use it against you down the
Right.
line.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that affirmation because I feel like there are some days where I sit with that, and then there are other days where I beat myself up because it's who I am in my core. So it's not like it's a hard thing for me to do. But there are some days where I'm just like, damn, I'm kind of laid back, and I probably shouldn't be, but I don't got it. I ain't got it today. Like,
They
and
expect
so
us to
so
be
it
on
feels
at
really
all
good
times, but
to hear that.
wrestling
Say
with
that again,
one
Freeman.
another.
You are so beautiful, by the
Um,
way.
Oh, thank you, Sienna. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear him talking, and then I said that, and
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I'm sorry. No,
I wasn't trying to
I was
cut
reading
you
a
off.
comment.
Yeah,
Oh, I
no.
thought she was talking to me.
Can I add on to what Bob was
Bitch, you
talking
get up on
about?
I thought she was talking to me. I mean, she can't see me. Maybe it was my profile picture from 10 years ago.
Right.
So I want to add on to what Bob said about as far as like the trans woman was saying she don't feel like it, or she don't want to fight for the rights or whatever like that, but she still deserves the rights. I was it brings me to like the current climate of America right now with like the whole the debate about black people are doing they're resting, they're the only ones who have a right to do peaceful protests as far as like sitting in our house and just making videos, and like white people should be putting their white bodies on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
then
agree.
it was a comment made. I saw this black guy make a video, and I agree a lot with it. It resonated with me because I was like, that makes a lot of sense. He talked about how when we were in the civil rights era and we were protesting, we weren't just protesting and marching and holding up signs. We were doing things that was deliberately challenging what was considered legal or illegal. As far as if we
Mhm.
protested, we didn't just walk outside with signs and march like we was in a parade. We sat in a cafe that said black people aren't supposed to be here, and we sat there in the seats demanding to be served. We sat in the front of the bus when we knew we weren't legally allowed to do that. Like, it's one thing to hold up signs and walk and protest and get on your camera and say, "Hey, I'm out here being an activist" and all that, but you have to actually challenge the system and rock it to the point to where you dismantle it and not just like irritate it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Can I
like
say
that's
something?
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I can't say that. This Hope Live. My bad. My fault.
No,
My
go
fault. I'm
ahead.
getting into host mode. My fault.
When you're done, I would
Oh yeah,
like
I'm
to say
done. I'm done. I just wanted to say that because I thought that was interesting when they made that comment about the whole, I don't feel like it right now, and I thought about how a lot of black people, we aren't taken to the streets. We're just inside, just minding our business and staying out the way, because it's like we've done it for so long. We told everybody y'all need to be on this. Nobody paid us no attention. So now it's like we tired of fighting shit. We just about to chill out and y'all we gonna rock it out. Shit.
Thanks.
I saw something today. Like, I am Hispanic, but I look white.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a video today and it made sense what she said, because she's like, you have to distance yourself from your whiteness. Like, you got to put yourself in front of people. Like, distance yourself from your whiteness. Be willing to get shot too.
I literally saw that video like right before I logged on. I just saw her video like right before I
Yes.
popped
And
on.
like, I am trying to start a nonprofit with one of my friends, and she's black. And she literally said to me today, she was like, it's okay. We can just put you in the front because you one of the white people, that we could just make it look like it's okay so nobody gets mad at us. And it's like, I hate it here. I hate it here.
Well, I mean, I was
I just want it to be good for everybody. That's the thing. I just want it to be good for everybody.
Go ahead, Bob. You were gonna say something.
I mean, I was about to give an example of a fight. Not that I gave up, but I was like, it just ain't that important to me. I was going on this long rant and kind of response to what this person was just saying before me about how a while back I was talking about the difference between. This might derail. Y'all know but sometimes my mind be cooking, going different places. But I was talking about the difference between obviously nationality, race, and ethnicity, right? And for example, you look at someone like Lupita Nyong'o. Lupita Nyong'o is Mexican. She's also American. She just became American. I think like last year, actually, she made a big post about it. But she's Mexican. Like, for example, let's talk about myself. I don't know Lupita. I am black. My race is black, right? My ethnicity is African American. My nationality is American, right? So sometimes I think people, like, I have a Puerto Rican friend, and he be like, distancing yourself from your whiteness because of a white Puerto Rican. I am a person from Puerto Rico, mostly the Spaniards who came to Puerto Rico. That doesn't take away the fact that I am Puerto Rican. He goes, but my race is white. I am a white person.
Yes,
But
that's
I
how I
understand how
feel
many
because I'm
liberals want to
Spain
be like,
Spanish.
a lot of liberals want to be like, I ain't white. But it's like, but you is. But they don't want to hear that. But it's like, but you are, because then it posits you as other. You're the bad guys. But the truth is, all of us have a little bit of the bad guys in us, right? So whether your bad guy is that you're American, hi, I'm American. Hello, everyone, I'm American. I'm a non-binary, but I'm a non-binary man. When everyone looks at me, I know my identity. I identify as non-binary, but that does not mean that when I operate the world, when I navigate the universe, everyone who sees me sees a man. Maybe unless I'm in drag. Maybe someone who don't know much about nothing or don't know nothing about me might be like, is that a trans woman? Maybe, maybe not. But for the most part, when I walk around the world, when I'm at the airport, when I'm going to get lunch, whatever, they just see a man walking around. Depending on how much swish and wish I got in my walk, they might not even know I'm gay on that day. So in any world, I am a 6'2". I'm a 6'2", 230-pound man. I navigate the world with a lot of that privilege. And as a non-binary person, sometimes my instinct is like, distance yourself from the manhood. But also, you know what I can do? I can use the manhood and position myself in a space where people who don't have that ability or that opportunity to do those things. So if any white folks or white Latinos are up in here, Whitexicans, White Ricans, White Dominicans, Whiteamanians, Guatemalans are up in here, your instincts would be like, don't ever let anyone call you white. But what your instinct should be is use the white and abuse the white, but do it for the right reasons.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. Because that was my question, was like, how do you use... I'm a person who believes that, like, we all have privilege, like, no matter what. Like, we all have privilege over someone else, I think. And so my question is always like, how am I using my privilege to benefit others? or how do I use my privilege to forge a pathway for something else, or to bring up conversations for someone else, or even for myself, because I can still be not privileged in one room, but privileged in another room, and then try to forge a gap between those things. So how do you all utilize your privilege in the spaces that you exist in?
Well, let's do a thought exercise. What is your privilege? You
Right.
tell me. I don't know you. What is your
Cool.
privilege?
So my privilege is that I am a college educated Black man who grew up in the suburbs, whose family worked for the government, who got a chance to, and Bob, but this is like a weird thing, and Bob, I don't know if you will know this. So I also I work in theater. I worked for Missoula Children's Theater, and
Oh my God, that's crazy.
that is crazy, right? So I used to.
Those y'all who
So
don't know, I used to work for a children's theater company when I was like
I
literally
like your eyebrows right
when
now.
I was 18 years old. I
like
worked
them
for a children's
eyebrows right
theater company
now.
called the Missoula Children's Theater. I was like 18. It was 21 years ago.
so it's so
You
crazy.
said
So
everything.
and I still work, and I still have associations with that. But they sent me all over the country, traveled the country for free. They sent me over to Europe. They have sent me to Europe for free. So I've had a lot of privileges in my life to experience other cultures, other things. And so what I try to do is try to figure out let's have conversations about what's going on, not just about here, but what's happening in other places. How do we?
One of your biggest privileges you might not even notice you had is you got one of them voices. You got one of them voices white folks be listening to.
Yes, yeah. My voice is my
Because
privilege
when you
too.
said you was black,
Because
I had to click on your page. I was
because
like,
people
black.
are because I have gotten that on my whole life. You sound white. You sound so
Oh,
white.
man.
I
Why
didn't say you
trying to
sound
talk-
white. I said you got one of them voices white
I
folks
know.
They'll
listen
listen
to.
to,
You
right?
didn't say that. You didn't say that. But I have heard my entire life. Well, you sound real white. You sound, and it's like, what does that mean?
What does white mean?
What does that mean that I sound white?
You know what?
I don't understand. I just grew up.
Okay, but I kind of hate. I hate when we do that, right? I hate when we do the what does white sound like, or what does gay?
I was about to say we know what white
I know
sounds
what white
like.
sounds like. I
was about to say,
He probably
I
saying
get
that
it.
because it's his voice.
Thank you,
I
thank
get
you,
it.
thank you for
Yeah.
holding me true. I know what that means.
Right.
I know what that means, but I can't.
man.
But I also
That's funny.
can't help how I speak.
Right.
No,
This is
by
the
the way,
voice
it's not
that I
a
was
bad. It's not
given.
having a voice that white people want to listen to is not a bad thing, but it is a huge entryway that you can use. I mean, all of us have the ability to turn on the voice if we want to. Some of us, the voice comes to us naturally. You know, I reckon my voice is somewhere between all these things. You know, I have a voice that is recognizable as black, but is palatable to the white ear. You know, my brother, my actual brother in life, he is someone who his voice is recognized as black and it's not palatable. But also the gayness of my voice makes it more palatable, but it's also the kind of gayness, the gay in my voice is not the gay voice that sounds like, you know, the ballroom gay voice, but it's like this is a gay voice and it's a black voice, but I hear this voice and something about it isn't triggering to the white ear when we hear it. So y'all know what a white voice sounds like. And the truth is, some people do sound white and some people do sound black. It is true. It is. Some folks sound white, some folks sound black, and some folks have a black voice that we want to hear.
You know,
You're right.
Because I just hate when we do that. Like I hate when we don't own the shit, because I feel like we own code switching, but then when we're a person who doesn't necessarily have to code switch because you just sound like that, we'd be like, oh, like what does that mean? Like, bitch, don't take offense. You know what the fuck that shit means. Like, you know, like
because also this is an exercise in recognizing your privilege, and how hypocritical would we be if we let you wiggle to the side without I said let's do a thought experiment. We're gonna actually, if we're doing a thought experiment, we're gonna have to think.
Right.
Thank you for holding me true. Thank you for holding me true. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I
You
appreciate
And the
it.
way
know,
you took that is so great. Like the way that you accepted that and heard that, our ego. Let me tell you, man, your ego will eat you up. It'll eat you up before anything. It's so hard to hear. You do not want to hear black folks tell you you sound white because it feels like it takes away your blackness, which is
Yeah.
intrinsic to who you are, but it does
Yeah.
not. Blackness is not monolithic. It's
Mhm.
not.
no. But
Yeah, that's so
it
true.
should.
And
Go ahead, Charlie.
oh wait, oh no, it's not. And I mean, like, listen, when I show up in a room, before I open my mouth, the first thing you're gonna be is like, who's that black boy in there? Like, that's the first thing that you see. So I can't change that about myself. But then what I do is and again, I think what you're saying is what my privilege is that when I come into a room, I will be like, when I start talking, then what you said, people do listen to me. People do sort of like hold what I say, hold what I say to be like, oh, okay, well, that sounds right because it sounds white, which is a weird, it's a weird thing. It is a weird thing. And I think that's something that I'm going to have to really
Unpack.
start digging into.
So continuing the experiment, how do you use that to
Mm-hmm.
benefit people who don't have the same access that you do?
Oh, well, I tell people about themselves all the time. And then I do, and I tell them in the way that sounds familiar to them, and so they're like, "Oh, you know what? You're right. You're so right." And so I can bring up issues of blackness. I can bring up issues of queer identity. I can bring up issues of ableism. I can do all of these things and talk to people who may not necessarily want to hear it,
Okay.
and then bring it up, and they're like, oh well, now, oh well, that actually makes a lot of sense.
So there's a comment that I do want us to address before we continue, and it Brandalism says, to me, talking white has a lot to do with respectability politics and canonizing Eurocentrism. The thing that's interesting to me about that is that that's exactly what it is, right? But I think that it's also for people who are not white, it's a survival tool. Um, and I think that we have to be
Mm-hmm.
mindful of the way that we villainize people for trying to survive in a space and in a world that was built to make us feel like all of the things that are natural to us are wrong. And if we don't know how to, at the very least, assimilate to these other things, then we will never find a way to have a good quality of life, or the quality of life that they've told us is the golden goose of things. And so I think that, like, when we talk about this, there's a difference in calling things in and saying, like, let's not be, obtuse about like what white sounds like or what gay looks like, or like, or whatever those things are. But also, like, let's be mindful that a lot of the time, especially when we're talking about white voice or code switching, those things are not done out of respectability for the establishments. Those things are done out of the need to survive, because in that establishment, if you can't, you don't get a job, you don't eat, healthcare is denied, lawyers are denied, housing is denied. And a lot of the time, your ability to be able to pass on that phone first is the only reason that you even make it to the in-person interview, right? And so we have to be like, I think that for folks who are not white, understanding how to portray whiteness isn't always in the defense of, oh, Eurocentric ideals are so much better than mine, or about respectability. It's about, I'm either gonna put this voice on, or I'm gonna possibly miss out on this job that I absolutely need. I'm gonna put this voice on, or I'm gonna be denied for this house another time. I'm gonna put this voice on, or this professor is gonna fail me in this class because they're going to automatically paint me out to be this stereotype of a person that I am not. And I think that, like, we really have to be cognizant of those things, and we also have to be mindful of the system that is kind of sort of a trickle down thing. I grew up in a very multicultural. I'm from Miami, for those of you all who don't know. So y'all know I grew up in a melting pot. Some of everybody went to school with me, and then I also went to a magnet school. For those of y'all that don't know what that is, it's just a school full of artistic ass weird kids who score high on tests, right? And we're talented. And at this school, because I was it was also a public school, but I had so many different versions of people who, were being themselves, that I didn't have to lose like my culture or anything like that. I picked up different things, but like my blackness was intrinsic to that environment. My mom got a little bit of extra money after I graduated, and so my siblings underneath me went to private schools. And the one that's getting it, I don't want to say the worst, but my baby sister, the one who's still in school right now, if you listen to Kari speak, you know for a fact that a large part of her time is spent amongst white girls. And I think that we have to be mindful that in the pursuit of giving our children the best life, the best chance, the best X, Y, and Z, when we place them in these environments that people, have told us, like, if you want to get into the Ivy League, if you want to do the da, your kids got to go to this place that's usually going to be intrinsically white. We forget that when you're socialized around that, then that's typically how things shape up. And what bothers me is that I hear my mom say things to my sister like, "You're home now, you don't have to talk like that." As if you didn't put her in that school where that's what she's been socialized to, so she hears that, and she doesn't even realize that there's something that's not black about her intonations and her inflections, because that's life for her now. And while we as black people are doing our due diligence to platform our kids, to platform our, our spouses from, the hood to X, Y, and Z, we have to remember that when you put people in those environments, you also put people in a space where they become sponges to that environment, and certain parts of that environment stick to them. And so now we can't be mad that the little black girl who lives in the projects, from 6 to 6 the next morning, goes to school, from 6 to 6 or maybe 8, depending on practice, with those white folks. And so while she's still very much so a black girl from the projects, her survival instinct to pass those classes, to have friends, to be a part of the social sphere, says, let me pick up on this language so that I can be a part of conversation, so that I'm not isolated, so that I'm not X, Y, and Z. And I think that a lot of us will say things like, oh, we want the better life. We want to give our children the things. We want to do all of this and that. But then when we give it to them and we forget that some of the consequence of that is that they become a part of that environment and
Yes.
they take it on, we get upset.
At what cost, right? Like, at what cost do we then lean in? And also, thank you for bringing me up. And when I mentioned, like, I came in and the conversation was about talking white, or people acting white. And I do agree that blackness is not a monolith, but I think us, like those of us are queer black people, when we say somebody's acting white or talking white, like, we know what that's giving.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's not about being articulate. It's not about being respectable. It's oftentimes like, I grew up in DC, suburban Maryland. I grew up surrounded by black affluence and black academia, but I've seen the ways that, like, masses tools cannot dismantle masses house. And white adjacency and respectability in conversations about, like, desire, even like, sorry, I don't mean to dismantle the conversation, but when people talk about people with white partners, black affluence being about, like, proximity to whiteness, like, that's a very real conversation. Like, I grew up in DC and people would say, oh, you listen to rock and roll, that's white music. Like, rock and roll is not white. Punk is not white, but, like, we've been programmed in this way where it's like, and, like, we need to give each other more grace. The language doesn't
Absolutely.
The language doesn't lend itself to the expanse of our identity.
Can I want to offer a notion here. I know Audre Lorde is obviously very iconic, but I actually don't agree that the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. I actually think you're gonna need those tools. No one can dismantle white supremacy as well as white people. White folks are going to have to take a part in the dismantling of white supremacy, just like men are going to have to take a part, if not the biggest part, in dismantling the issues with toxic masculinity and misogyny, just like people who are not trans people are going to have to be the ones on the front lines dismantling transphobia. I mean, sometimes something sounds so good, and we've heard it so many times. And who am I? Audre Lorde is literally a philosopher, and I'm a comedian, so I might be wrong on this. But I actually do think that you're going to need the blueprints of the foundation of the home to pull it apart, because it cannot just be black folks fighting against white supremacy. It's not going to work.
Right.
White folks are going to have to take part in it, and in order for the people at the top, because the resources are limited, things are finite, right? So in order for the people at the top for the people at the bottom to have something, the people at the top are going to have to either give something up or have it ripped out of their hands. Because stuff is just finite. They're going to have to take part. They're going to have to do it. You gotta.
I want to add something onto what he's saying, because this story, this story actually goes along with what we're talking about. There was this black woman. She said that when she was in law school, there was this other black girl that was there, and their class was predominantly Caucasian, right? And she said that, when they graduated or whatever like that, they ended up going to his law firm, and she said she intentionally stayed away from this other black lady because she only hung around the white colleagues. She said, and one day they were having a discussion about a position that was open, and she qualified for this position, but she stepped out the room for a moment. And she said when she stepped out the room, she came back in, and the room was very stiff. And she said she didn't know why until everybody started coming to her, telling her why the room had gotten stiff when she walked out. She said that same black lady that she vowed to stay away from because she only hung around the white colleagues, and she only had the white friends. She said she advocated for her when she stepped out the room because all the white people in the room started bringing up reasons why they were questioning whether this lady was qualified or not. And they said she did it in such an I don't want to use the word aggressive because that's not what she said, but it was almost like she did it in a way that it was a tone where it was like, how dare y'all like say this about her when y'all don't understand this or that. But she basically told the story to say, just because we see black people moving in certain spaces that we feel may make us uncomfortable because we see them moving around white people and we don't necessarily agree with it, doesn't mean that they're not necessarily rooting for us. She was like, black people have to understand we all go into certain spaces trying to validate ourselves and gain some sort of level of respect or to be accepted in these spaces, and we all do it at various different levels.
But why are
So
we treating each other the way white people treat us? I feel like it's okay to imagine. Yes, of course. Like, why do the master's tools have to just like? Can we not imagine? Like, do we have to speak so literally? Like, I don't. To me, like hearing that, oh, you have to, like, we need allies in order. Like, I think about like Drexia. I think about like just imagining a world where like it's a room full of people of color, and we're like, I feel like whiteness has become the subject, and to me that's just
so
unfortunate.
What I want to offer to that, though, Brandalism, is that became a part of the snowball of the conversation when you introduced that particular topic. I think we would have probably just moved on.
Yeah. You're right.
Honestly, we were about to move on. Bob was thanking Charlie for accepting the criticism, and we were about to change the subject. And then I did think that your point was valid enough to bring to the conversation, but I think that oftentimes, and this is a call in with love, I think that oftentimes the people that are the most vocal about the ways in which we center whiteness are the people who often bring whiteness into the conversation with them, because there's a point where it moves out of the space of wanting to go away from a topic, and a point where you become obsessed with it and you don't realize that because of that obsession, you are the person that is constantly introducing whiteness into the conversation, so that way you can then dismantle that. Like, it becomes a thing where, because we don't have access to the white people in the way that we want to, we figure out ways to dismantle them at every chance that we get. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that it shows that your passion for standing up against this topic is strong. But in trying to stand up against this topic and in wanting it to be something that's not sucking the air out of the space, you invite it to do that by constantly inviting it into Black spaces where Black people are having those conversations. And then you often work yourself up into a frenzy because you're like, how did we get here? You brought it, baby. Like, you unpacked.
You're right. You're right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that. You're right. I let my frustrations like get the best of me.
But I mean,
Thank you.
I've been there. I'm gonna be there again. I do it myself all the time, and that's how I can understand and I can recognize it. And it doesn't make it a bad thing. I think that if that's a thing that you feel passionate about, then by golly, do that. But I also want to take some time for you to recognize that you might be doing that in other spaces, and people don't say anything because folks don't want you to actually like one learn. People are afraid to turn the mirror on people because oftentimes when people see that you're passionate about something, I think Bob said it in the comments, like they mistake that passion for like confrontational, and then they get afraid that if they do say a thing that you're gonna blow up on them. And I,
Yeah,
as the person who is often painted as
and
that person,
that's
I
not
know
what I wanted to give.
exactly. Like I know better because I'm the person that's usually that person in the room. So I knew that that's not what you were given, but I also wanted to like name that for you. That if that's a thing that you don't want to like happen in the spaces that you go into and you feel like it's a constant thing when you have conversations, evaluate what the conversation was before you got there and how much it elevated after you did in an effort to dismantle the thing that you don't want us to be focusing on. Jeez Louise.
T.
But I mean, there's a lot. Like I tell people all the time, there's this fight for exclusivity amongst people of marginalized backgrounds. Everybody wants to be the first, the only, the person that does the thing. I want to be the number one. I'm the exclusive thing. But if you like fashion the way that I like fashion, you know that everything that is exclusive goes on sale at some point. And if you are
Down.
constantly,
Nordstrom Rack.
baby, it's gonna end up there. People say, "Oh, Louis Vuitton never goes on sale." Yes, it does. Chanel never goes on sale. Yes, it does. Right? You just have to know
Yeah.
enough to know. You just got to know enough to know where to
Depop
find
then.
everything, right? And so it's one of those things where it's just like there. I think in the talk around white supremacy and the talk around you're on thin ice, buddy. I'm sorry. There's two conversations that I'm listening to right now, and the one in the comments is funny as hell. But golly gee willikers. I'm sorry, y'all. The ADHD in me is like turned the fuck up right now. Somebody said, "Oh, that was you, Brad." Oh my god, golly gee
Oh my
willikers.
God, bro.
But I think that like in an effort for us to dismantle the cowabunga goes crazy. I am gonna turn the comments off on you bitches. But in an effort to dismantle the systems of whiteness that I think have us all bogged down and sometimes put us in a space where we want to create these think pieces, and in decentering them we end up centering them. We have to remind ourselves that the reason why those things happen is because we all got a bone to pick. It goes back to Solange and what she said, like, bitch, I got a reason, I got shit to be mad about, right? We all have a thing to
Yo.
be mad about as it pertains to this system, and that is the reason why they often take over our conversation. And it's not because we're trying to censor them, it's because we are all constantly looking for a way out of the system that we did not ask to be a part of, but we've somehow bought into.
But like the realization that the way out is through. And like that's where my frustration comes from a lot of the times, that like you, and it's not that I'm sorry, like I don't want to take up too much space. It's that is real. Like you do have to use the tools that you are given, but like to dream, man. Like I often think, like, why do all these black scholars go to Europe? Why did Josephine Baker go to Europe? Why did James Baldwin go to Europe to escape like the weight of Eurocentrism, and like because like
Well,
at least it's different. Like call me a slur in a different language.
But I don't think that it's about, I think that a large part of that too that you're missing is that there's a freedom that is in Europe that is not in the US. There is an exacerbation
I get it, yeah.
of art, and there's an exacerbation of people being able to see their wildest dreams lived out in a place where racism might exist, but it does not fuel the social conversation at the same level as it does when you are in America. As a person who is an
But if you
mm-hmm.
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Hope. I'm sorry.
I was just like, as a person who is an avid traveler, I can tell you I've been on damn near every continent, almost just about. And while racism exists in those places, it's not a thing that controls the way that people move socially, so much so that it becomes debilitating in the way that I feel it as a Black trans woman in America. When I
But I,
don't feel it in those same ways. And I think that also we're talking about people like Josephine Baker. They were alive in a time where you were the headlining act, and you still had to come in through the back door of the back door outside of the trunk of the limousine that you barely were allowed to even ride in, right? And so when we are thinking about the way that the Europeans treated Black talent, despite maybe even being racist themselves, there's a reason to run over there and do something different. There was an entire renaissance that was also happening at that time, that I think if you look at the reason for why James Baldwin, Langston Hughes, Josephine Baker, Lord, I forget her name, but like Hattie Mae Davis, like all of these people ran over there because it wasn't just about wanting to be next to white people. It was about wanting to be a part of the renaissance of their craft that was not happening in the States for Black people.
But like Giovanni's room,
Look at
and like when I realized that,
when they went to like, I mean, child, if you're Black and exhausted in 2026, imagine how Black and exhausted someone must have been in the 60s. James Baldwin was born in the 20s. The 20s. So when someone comes back over to the States and tells you it ain't perfect, but it's easier, you're gonna do what you got to do. And a lot of these folks who are going different places, you go in different places to get different perspectives, see how you can be treated. You don't know what you don't know. So I don't think that they were fleeing their Blackness, baby. They were exhausted in the 60s.
And I didn't say they were fleeing their Blackness. That's not like, but I understand like that this is a nuanced and like very complicated and very interesting conversation. Like, I'm not calling James Baldwin some kind of race traitor. Like, I hope I'm not coming off that way. Like, I get it, but it's also so interesting to think about and lean into, like, what it must have felt like at that time. I do understand like the context and the nuance of like the times. And I know that I'm privileged, and these people came before me so that I can sit here on TikTok and even have this conversation. I get that, but I don't know, like, and I don't want my frustration, like, I'm not running into a wall. Like, I hear what everyone is saying, and I love, like, I feel very privileged to be a part of this conversation. But sometimes this
is discourse.
Well, it's interesting too, because we go back to the conversation of privilege, and we go back to even that time period. Like, look at the privilege that James Baldwin and Josephine Baker even had to be able to go to a different country and experience something different just to get away from whatever was happening in the States. They still had privilege and able to get that, because that is not something that was afforded to everyone in that time. So when we think about it, I have to think about, that's like, oh, what were they doing? What was going on? But also they had the privilege in order to do that, because that was not something that we could all do. And it's great because it gave us some great art. It gave us some great ways of thinking and great conversations and salons and all of those things, which is important, because then that, like, when we use our privilege to, I don't want to say infiltrate, I feel like that feels a little aggressive, but when we get to experience or immerse or sort of, delve into these other spaces, it allows us to bring that information
versus
back.
infiltrate. Yeah, I hear you.
It allows us to bring it back to, our people or our friends or our cohorts or whatever, and be like, oh, this is what everyone else is talking about. And how do we feel about this? How's that influencing how I think? How does that influence what I want to do? How does that influence my vision, my thought, my passion, based on what other people are doing and how other people perceive who I am in the world?
Have you all seen that interview with James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni?
Yeah.
Which is like such a powerful conversation, and like the way they like call each other, that is such a lesson in how to disagree. Absolutely. In how to challenge in a way. And to me, this harkens to that. And if people haven't heard that, I would encourage everyone to watch that interview.
Boxer Body, that's the only one we've seen. I'm crying because kind of sort of. I mean, I've seen several interviews from them separately, but together, that's the only one we've seen where they've sat down and had that hard conversation. But I mean, I think that is a beautiful way to like learn.
But I think a lot of people have seen clips, but like that whole like hour and a half, 2 hour interview is like there's a lot to glean.
I was gonna
Stop
say,
being shady, bro.
I have a question because I think the conversation originally started by Bob asking us like what ways in what ways do we use our privilege to actually grant access to others that may not have the ability to do so themselves. I was gonna ask y'all, Hope, I'm gonna ask you for your opinion, and the rest of y'all can chime in if y'all want to. I don't necessarily know how to use the quote unquote privilege I have. I do understand what I present. I do understand what I'm perceived as far as a lot of people. You know, when people first see me, they don't see that I'm bisexual. They see a masculine, heterosexual presenting man, you black man, 6 foot man. You know what I'm saying, man? That takes up space. So, how would y'all, just y'all perspective, as far as like just giving me some I don't want. I guess I can call it guidance because Hope. I feel like you're pretty sound minded when you're saying certain things, and I appreciate and I actually agree with a lot of things you say. How would you say you would use your privilege if you were me? Because I don't necessarily understand or know how I should use the privilege that I may not even be aware that I have. You know.
I'm actually excited that you asked because I've been looking for a way to interject this story in here, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. But you made it happen. So, I have a friend that kind of sort of fits your build, except he's 6'5" instead of 6 feet. And my friend Philip is a gorgeous 6'5" gym rat gay man who is who is very intimidating, I guess, to a person who does not know that he's the sweetest pie in both nature and interaction, right? For lack of a better word. Like if you don't know this man, then you don't realize that about him. And one of the things that he sort of promised me when we embarked on our friendship is like, Hope, I understand the way that I show up in the world and what it looks like and how I can show up for women, but specifically my Black trans sisters. And so while I don't have a lot of money, while I don't have a lot of, connections to industry, I do have connection to this body and these gym rat gay man muscles. And if you ever need me to show up in space, then I could do that for you. And it just so happened that like a couple of days after that conversation, I got invited to a podcast where I was going to be by myself, and it was a bunch of cisgender men who I didn't really feel comfortable or trust that if the conversation went left, that I would be safe. And I called, Philip on his offer. I was like, hey, Phil, I got to go to this place with these niggas. I need you to come in here and pretend to be boyfriend, to pretend to be body, whatever you got to do. I just need these niggas to know I'm not by myself, right? And the thing about it was we did the thing, everything was cool. But I want to say maybe a year later, me and that podcast host actually became really good friends. He's a Brooklyn nigga, all of the things. And he was telling me about that day, that first day when I walked into the studio with Phil. And he was like, Hope walked in, like he was telling the story to a couple of people, and I was there as well. And so he's like, yeah, Hope walked in, and she walked in, but then this big ass black nigga come in behind her, like da 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 da. And so he's telling this story, and exactly what Phil intended to do and the emotion that he intended to strike in those black men in that room was exactly what happened. Right? The exact emotion that Phil knew that he would be able to get out of those men so that they treaded a little bit lightlier with me that day was what happened. He kept me safe in a way that I'm not necessarily sure I would have been safe if Phil had not shown up in his power in that way. And that was using his privilege while as a gay man, he knew what it would look like to those straight men who might have thought that it was safe to play in my motherfucking face if I had brought no one, right? And so I think that like when you show up as a man of your stature, when you know that you're perceived a certain way, sometimes showing up for people is enough ways to use your privilege. If you are aware that women are having a conversation with men and men tend to not listen to women because they feel like they can get over on them, bringing your male energy and bringing your presence to that conversation and being the person that says, hey, not on my watch, bro, y'all got me fucked up, these women are speaking, that can be a use of privilege that a lot of people don't understand can be so much more impactful than any dollar, any bag, any gift that you could ever give. The gift of showing up, especially when you know that your presence is going to create a certain level of whatever protection, shielding, whatever it is. Those things are ways that specifically men who live in the bodies that you live in can, utilize that privilege. I also think that when you talk about being a bisexual man and wielding that privilege, there's a lot of privilege that comes with being bisexual that folks don't understand, especially if you are a person who has to tell people that you are bisexual. And the observations that y'all get to make on both ends of the spectrum are rare. And I say that because a lot of the time, people who sit on one end or the other end of the spectrum are often left out of one conversation or the other conversation. Whereas folks who are bisexual kind of can understand where the crux is coming from. And a lot of you all don't use your privilege to bridge gaps in between those moods. Y'all are like, both of y'all have done me wrong at some point. Both of y'all have said fuck me at some point. So even though I could fix this thing and nip this thing
Hey, Hope,
good,
the fact that you even saying that, because I be feeling like that to hear you say that and then you brought it back around and you feel like both of y'all done did me wrong. I feel like that so often because I'm like, straight people be having an issue with me, gay people be having an issue, and I
And
be
it
like, well,
sounds like
fuck
you're
both
the
of y'all,
issue. No,
dude.
I'm playing. I'm playing. It sounds like
that's,
no, I'm playing. I will
that's
say this:
how I be feeling,
as
man.
a fellow big black man, I would love to chime in on this.
Oh man, that's
As a
funny.
fellow big black man, I would love to chime in on this. I got to say, there's a few things here. One, your size is a privilege. Again, I'm 6'2", I'm 235 pounds. I am a large person. My physical presence means a lot, but also you need to know you are more than just your size. You are more than just what you have. I think the most powerful thing you have is access. You have access to the minds of straight men in a way that a super feminine gay man or a cisgender woman or a trans woman will never have access. You have power in the barbershop. Baby, you have power in the barbershop. They're going to listen to you. You have the opportunity to create these talking points and to stand up for things and to, as we said earlier, take the air out of the room, and they're going to listen to you because you look like them, because you sound like them, and quite frankly, because they respect you, just because they want to look like you, they want to be you, physically speaking. So when it's like when LeBron James stands up for his daughter. It means more when LeBron James does it than when Gabrielle Union does, because those men don't respect Gabrielle Union the way they respect LeBron James. He's LeBron James. They want to be him. All the straight men, all the straight black men in America want to be some version of LeBron James. They want a Gabrielle
I think you
Union.
talking. I think you talking about Dwayne Wade, my boy.
Dwayne Wade, my bad. I don't watch.
Yeah.
Clearly, I don't watch sports. See, and there you use your privilege. You use your knowledge and your access. Dwayne Wade, one of them basketball niggas, one of them big black basketball niggas. He uses his access to the minds of cisgender straight black men, and he allows. And he has probably changed so many minds, because you don't know what other NBA player has a trans kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, yeah, Marlon Wayans said some fucked up stuff recently, but Marlon Wayans is interesting to me because he has a trans son. He now feels called to use his position as a very respected person in the black community with access to the minds of cisgender straight black men, that now he can change the way they think because they're going to want to listen to him more.
I receive that. I receive that.
You know what's
I
interesting to
receive
me,
that.
even about that flub up that you made, Bob. I know it wasn't intentional, but there's something that I do want to call in about that I don't often get a chance to speak about, and it is the fact that, like, there's a stark, at least to me, because like Bob, I don't really watch the sport, so if I'm wrong, y'all, and I just don't know because I don't be following them for real, correct me. But what I noticed was in the adverse, the effect that Dwayne was and does have to some extent with other black men, I feel like there is an intentional, silent, but intentional framing from LeBron on the opposite end of that, right? Stay with me, but don't stay with me, but stay with me. If you follow sports, then you've kind of noticed that like LeBron one distanced himself from Dwayne when all of this started. And then two, what I also noticed was that there was this antithesis campaign going on. It was like Dwayne and Gabrielle were over here, talking about inclusion and their trans daughter and all this and that. And then all of a sudden, Mr. LeBron, who is basketball, Nike contract, Nike contract, every now and then I love my wife, basketball, becomes this person that we're starting to see a lot more during that time frame. And there was this exploitation of his family dynamic, right? In a way that we just didn't see it.
Yep.
And so it became, we have the top two people in their fields in this industry, and one of them is saying, I'm going to support my trans daughter, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and the other one seemingly is like, I ain't going to say it out loud, but I ain't with that shit, and I'm going to show y'all that as far as it pertains to this basketball shit, I'm the real man here because my boys ain't gonna ever, right? And again, it was never said publicly. And I can only assume that there was some shit that was said privately, which is why the split was very mutual and quiet. But it's one of those things where I feel like when you talk about using your privilege and when you talk about things like that, the same way that Dwayne understands that his privilege could reshape the minds of a lot of toxic black men in that industry, LeBron knew that his privilege could keep their minds from going that way and being impacted by what Dwayne was doing, especially because when Dwayne did it, he then retired. And so he's not in the same rooms as he used to be. Him and Gabby were just in Japan with me and my husband. So it's one of those things where it's like, I felt like when we think about using our privilege, we have to also be mindful of the people who look like us that use their privilege to do the exact opposite of what we're doing, and how that can be impactful even when they don't say that that's what they're doing, right? So I know I wasn't on purpose, Bob, but I really appreciate you like getting them two mixed up. I just said the wrong name. I know. I be deep diving. I Bitch, Bob is like, bitch, all I did was mix them up. How the fuck we get this philosophical ass fucking
But it actually does bring up a really good point when
Yeah,
you
this
see
this is
someone
this
like
this is good. Yeah.
when you look at like what Joy Reid is doing versus I don't know the man name who he's a black sports analyst and he's super Trumpy.
Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, so Joy Reid is using her black cachet to advance the rights of people who are marginalized, and the Steven fella is trying to use his black cachet to do the exact opposite. And this is going to happen all the time. This is essentially what's happening and I think that now Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang are seeing the effects of you trying to use their queer cachet, but it wasn't covert enough. It wasn't sneaky enough, and they don't have enough cachet to be in with queer folks like that, because queer folks are just more like, no, we know if these midterms go down, we're going to be fucked for 50 years. But if we get these midterms, then we're going to be good for at least maybe 15, maybe 15.
Maybe.
But I'm saying, but you know what you can do, Freeman.
Yeah.
You can be the Dwayne Wade to someone's LeBron James. You don't have to. What you laughing at, Hope?
You was like, you know what, Freeman? He was like, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
you can be the Dwayne Wade to someone's LeBron James, but instead of, I feels like, I do a podcast with this guy named Boston Rob. Boston Rob is from reality TV. He's very well respected in the realm. He's like a butch guy. He's ally. He's not, but he is really masculine, and he wants to be masculine, and he wants to have his like something about straight men. Like there is honestly nothing No one is more afraid in the world than a straight man trying to make sure no one thinks they're gay.
And you want to know what's interesting about
That's
you
it.
saying that? I've had several homies. I lie to you not. I'm from Mississippi, but I stay in Atlanta. I've gone home multiple times, right? And at this point, I'll be 37 on
You from
January
Atlanta?
15th. No, no,
Wait,
no. I live in Atlanta, but I'm from Mississippi though.
Oh, I'm from
okay.
Atlanta, and I used to live in Mississippi. That's so
Yeah,
I
funny.
was like, I'm in
yeah,
Atlanta right now, yo.
I but I 30 I'll be 37 on January 15th. Thursday is actually my birthday. Same day as Martin Luther King Jr. My birthday Thursday. So I'll be 37. I've gone home multiple times, right? And at this point, I'm from a small country hood town, so everybody know I'm bisexual now, right? People I went to high school with and all that. So when I be going home, I think it's interesting because when I played football and ran track in high school, nobody ever just thought that or had these ideas because I was dating girls. I was fucking bitches and all. My bad. I ain't even say fucking
Fucking
bitches. But
bitches
I
is
was fucking. Yeah, you know what I'm
crazy.
trying to say.
Fucking
I was
bitches
I
is
was I was I was
crazy.
I was out
I
there.
was dicking down whores.
You feel me? You know what I'm saying? No, I ain't. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Pounding notes
Hey, but look,
once.
Don't
I,
talk about me like I'm not here.
but nah. Hey, but I be going home now, and all the homies from back in the day, they come up to me. They're like, "Bro, I need you to help me put this fit together. Bro, I need you to help. Hey, bro, I need you. This girl told me this. What you think about this? What this mean? Because I don't be understanding these bitches, man. What you?" And I'm sorry for saying bitches. I mean say women, but that's just how I talk. They won't from. But
Yeah,
I get what y'all saying when y'all say men will listen to me because it's been so many times I've heard certain storylines told around me, and I'd be like, bro, that's not cool. That's not okay. And they'll say something like, well, we cool with you. You know what I'm saying? You one of us. You know what I'm saying? You ain't out here doing all that extra. You ain't doing this. You still fuck women. Woo, woo, woo. You cool with us. And I'm like, yeah, but what you're saying is still dangerous to me as a person because I'm still a part of that community and I care about everybody within my community. And if you really cared about me, you will understand how what you're doing is no different than what white supremacy pushes for. You know what I'm saying? So I've had those hard conversations with my homies or whatever, and you know what I'm saying. Some of them listen to me. I've lost friendships with certain people because they like, well, he actually, he support that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought he was just, you know what I'm saying, and a lot of that come from, and I ain't trying to make this sound like no fucked up shit, but a lot of it be coming from DL men. You know what I'm saying? I don't even want to get into that conversation.
Wait, you mean
Because if
problems
I if
come
I
from
could tell
DL
y'all some
men?
shit,
I
I
don't
do.
believe you.
Oh
I
my
don't
A lot.
believe you.
goodness.
The lies you tell.
Oh my God.
a lot of it be internalized homophobia. I ain't gonna hold you. Like I got homies I know right now love sleeping with trans women, but they be like, Freeman, I can't tell nobody, bro. I just can't do it. It's the image and the perception and you know what I'm saying, holding together what a man's supposed to look like and what a man's supposed to be. I know men who actually like to lay down with men, but they married with kids, but they do it once or twice a year to make sure they're keeping up with their manhood. You know what I'm
Once or
saying?
twice a year is
So
not enough. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
But you know what I'm saying? These types of things happen. You know what I'm saying? So I get what y'all saying, and I appreciate y'all perspective, and I receive what y'all said to me. I just said all that to say that. That's all.
I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to make you a pick me. They're trying to make you a pick me queer, and you're not allowing them to do
No,
that because they're gonna be
I
like,
ain't
no,
trying to do
you're one of the good ones who gets it. You're one of the good queers who gets it. You're one of the ones who's like us. But the truth is, I'm not like y'all. You know what I mean? Like I'm not on y'all. I'm not on y'all's time. And being a black person who has one of the black voices that doesn't seem to offend white people. Like I said, I'm recognized as black, but it seems unoffensive black for some reason. Probably because I'm from the suburbs of Atlanta, which all of Atlanta is suburbs. That's a conversation for another time. Atlanta is literally all suburbs. Everybody lives in the suburbs.
What up,
Don't get
Alpharetta? What?
don't get me on my Atlanta talk. But like here's the thing. I acknowledge in this world, I am famous. I am recognizable. I am tall. I am big. I am a man. And I have a voice that people want to listen to it and they recognize it as a black voice. But for some reason, when I'm talking, they start listening. Right. So I'm using these moments to communicate with these people, to communicate with my family. I have a very queer family, so I don't really have this in my family, to be honest. But I'm using this to when I navigate these spaces to have these conversations. Like my partner, well, I have two partners. one of my partners is Haitian, right? So I'm seeing what it's like to have this difference between being like an African American versus like a Caribbean American, and how we navigate the world, and the place that he has access to, the place that I have access to, the cachet that I have in the black community, in the queer community, and I have cachet in the white community and the straight community too. For some reason, I don't know why straight men think I'm hilarious. I be making fun of them half the time, but for some reason they think it's fucking funny.
They love
But but whatever cachet you have, you got to cash it in.
You do.
Yeah.
You do, because I think like when we.
But
know
you need to make sure you have some reserves so that you don't use it all.
Oh.
Matt Rogers, Bell and Yang.
Not the reserves.
They went all in and just kind of, I'm sorry, they just went all in. And I was like, ooh, but did y'all have?
No, you're right. No, you're not wrong. They didn't have the queer cachet they thought
Do
they
you
had.
have enough in the bank to like back up what you said, to hold on to that?
But my thing is, I think that also they
I know I came up late.
depend on whiteness to be a savior to the things that they're putting out in the world. I think that Matt fully believed that he was going to be able to say that, and even though like people don't fuck with him because he's queer, I think that he believed that whiteness was going to save him in that moment, and that white people who hate Jasmine were going to pop up out of the woodwork to save him. And it was like, oh no, you're still a twink, you're gonna have to eat that one, right? But like it's just
Right.
like they believe that it's not even just the cachet of queerness. They know and they understand the system of white supremacy, which is why when white gay men sit around and be like, I don't know what you're talking about, like I'm gay, I'm marginalized too. Yeah, bitch, but you also know that if you say the right thing on the right day to the right people within earshot of white supremacy, it's gonna come and save you despite your queerness. And I think that that's the reason that makes this. That's why I made my ass itch, and that's why I drug him by his gaping rosebud. But it's one of those like
that had me on the floor. I was like,
I will say though,
"Ooh."
sometimes the ignorance you have, you don't know you have it until it's been pointed out to you. For example, I was talking to someone recently. I have never been gay bashed in my life. No one's ever been physical with me because I've always been bigger than everybody. And I was talking to some of my smaller gay friends, and then it occurred to me, oh my God, the reason I have never been gay bashed is because people are physically intimidated by me.
Yeah.
I've never been called the, I don't know, I want to get the live button taken down, but I've never been called the F slur ever. Never once. I'm telling you, never one time one time I was crossing Madison Square Garden, but a guy did it from across the street. It was me and three other big, tall gay guys. And then he waited till he was across the street, and he said it when there was at least 2 dozen people between us, because he didn't want that smoke from these big. He didn't want to get beat up by a bunch of big gays. You know what I mean? So,
Bob, same here.
It literally never occurred to me why in my mind at one point I was even thinking to myself, are people really getting gay bashed this much? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just not happening to me.
Well, I mean, it comes back to a lot of different things, but size plays a factor because, like I said, I'm 6'3", and boyfriend's 5'5", although he can hold his own. My point being is people are crazy as hell in this world and the shit that we deal with. And thank you for having me up, Hope. And
Absolutely.
Freeman, your point was very valid. I just be laughing at that. Like, if you don't like whack, replace the W with the C because of censors or whatever else.
Yeah, I'm
ain't gonna focus on it,
I
you know?
apologize. Hope, my apologies.
Wait, I'm trying to do
wasn't
math. If you don't like whack, replace the W
Replace
with
With the C. Whackheads, crackheads, you know.
Oh,
if you don't like
geez.
that, then you're not focusing on that, you know.
Oh,
like when people are
that
like,
took too much. I almost got a nosebleed trying to catch up with that.
Bob, no, Bob, no.
It's
no.
late. It's almost 5 a.m. I'm in New York City.
Listen, no. It's gym time. I gotta go to the gym after this. So yeah, no. It's early. No, don't say it's late. You gotta work a whole lot of shit and so on and so
for
forth.
me.
Oh Lord, you in? Where you at? What state you live in?
I'm in California.
Oh, I was just about to say Kelly because she
Yeah,
said
I'm in
4:30.
You know, I could have done that math. I could have done that math and deduced that.
No.
It was either Washington State or California.
That left
And I'm assuming you don't live in Spokane.
That left Spokane. But we already done messed up the right one with the C replace the W. That left one would have took you out.
It's 4:30.
It is 4:30 in the morning, y'all. For real.
And apparently we're going to the
I just
gym.
want to say, I'm so glad I came up here
I'm
tonight.
still trying to get over 30.
I'm so glad I came up here.
Oh
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be
30
something.
something.
Hell
30
yeah.
something.
Be 37 on the 15th. Hell yeah.
And when we talk about
yeah.
privilege too, there's also like youth privilege, and there's also pretty privilege. Like Freeman, you got. Listen, I went to your page. You got pretty privilege. Like
you funny as hell.
you know, like use that stuff because people will people I have noticed, especially on this app, this drives me crazy that I can scroll through and there is some who is sitting there with their shirt off and got 1 million followers and all these people, and I was like, but they're not saying anything. They're just naked. Like that's but you have something to say. So say your voice is your privilege. Like say the thing. Say the quiet part out loud.
Bitch.
Use
Thank
that.
you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yeah,
that for real.
because
Hope, I really feel like I've been in a therapy session with you tonight, for real, for real.
I mean, look, I try to curate the spaces that I feel like I need the most my damn self. So that's what is really good. Somebody, bitch, they are playing Bob.
And I appreciate everybody else on the panel too, for real, for real. I appreciate
Bob,
all
you are
y'all.
absolutely
Charlie, Bob, Duality, all
Bob
y'all.
is so pretty because y'all are leaving Bob out of the pretty privilege.
Bob, you're pretty.
Bob is
Very
pretty.
Bob is so fine.
God damn it. That's what we not gonna do is act like Bob is not pretty.
Yes.
But I think that when we do talk about
We are
like,
bald baddies, Bob.
pretty.
Oh yeah, Bob is pretty.
Pretty and what is it? Pretty and passing privilege. That I think that's how I use to answer the prompt that Charlie brought up and then Bob charged us with. That's one of the things that I do. I think that passing or pretty privilege, whichever one is showing up for me better that day, and then also my ability to use my vocabulary, my degree, and all that stuff. That's how I use my privilege to show up for the girls, because I think that if people don't clock it, then I get in the room and I'm seen as this, astute Black woman who people are like, oh, I'm gonna listen to her, and then on top of that, because I'm gonna always have that shit on, I'm going to put on a piece. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Bob. Good night. But like I'm always have that shit on. But beyond that, I think that one of the things that people enjoy is that when I come into the space, I could sit around and do what some of the girls who also experience pretty privilege do, which is they sit back and they say, oh, I'm pretty, so I don't have to talk about the issues. I'm so cute, so I don't have to talk about the thing because I don't experience those things. And it's like, for me, even if it's not happening to me, I've never had to be on OnlyFans or sell parts of my body a day in my life. But at the end of the day, my community is being affected by it. So I'll be damned if I'm going to turn around and not talk about these things simply because they are not affecting me personally. Because at the end of the day, the system don't give a shit if you are not the person that's shaking ass or selling ass. The system does not care if you are the clocky brick bitch that's standing at 6'5" with the nappy wig on. The system says all of y'all are a problem. All of y'all have to be eradicated. It don't matter how cute you are. It don't matter how much money you make. It don't matter how many degrees you have. I'm going to do it with all of y'all. And so with my privilege, I take my time to center and recenter the people who often wouldn't get a chance to be in the room at all. And I think that like if we are navigating or if we're talking through privilege, like Charlie said earlier in this discussion, all of us have a privilege whenever we can. People who are a part of our group who aren't even invited to have the conversation in the first place, let alone being able to speak their piece on the conversation, because those things change the way that people think about us socially, which changes the way that we're legislated against, which then changes the way that we're able to exist, right? And so we have to just be mindful about that.
Hey, Hope, your audio is kind of like glitching a little bit.
Oh,
I thought it was just me. It was going in and out.
Oh, that y'all should have said. Why y'all let me get?
You was making some really good points.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Hey, when she gets started, she be on the roll, for real.
Listen, I thought it was my internet. I'm like, Lord have mercy.
Oh no, because somebody need to mute. I don't know which one of y'all got the bad thingy. Hold on. I think it's you, Duality. Is that better, y'all? Because I had to, like, because I hear, like, the feedback or whatever. It don't matter. I'm going to get up here anyway, because I ain't realize. Yeah, it's you, Duality. Look at you coming here fucking up shit. Jokes. But I'm going to get up here anyway, because it's 4 o'clock in the morning for some people. It's about to be 2 o'clock for me. I got to go wake my husband up, because he been sleeping on that couch, and his neck going to hurt in the morning if I don't move him. But thank y'all.
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me up here. I appreciate it. Thank you for you know what I'm saying, just being that safe space. I appreciate that. I really do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime y'all see me on here, unless I'm popping my shit by myself, then absolutely not. But if it's an open forum, feel free to pop on up and say what's goody, what it do. You know, I'm always open to have
Hey,
conversations.
if you ever need a I may not be physically where you are right now, but if you ever need a co-host to come and back you or advocate for you or just sit there and be in your space just so you can feel safe, call me, hit me up. Don't hesitate.
Absolutely. I will definitely do
I
that.
got you. I got you.
I will definitely. Do you
All
do
right,
these
y'all have a
lives
good
for
night. I hope everybody has a peaceful, positive, productive day. I hope y'all get the sleep and rest that y'all need. And I hope y'all have sweet dreams because y'all deserve it.
Yay.
You too, man.
You
Y'all
All
have
right.
a good one. Thank you
Night-night,
so much,
night-night,
Hope,
night-night.
for hosting this and just
Absolutely.
giving us the space to talk about some stuff. So that was great. This was an unexpected and wonderful surprise.
Thank you.
Coming in on the end saying, thank you again,
Aaron,
Hope,
I
and it was great
do.
meeting you.
Absolutely. Aaron, I do these lives every night. I usually do them starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard, which would be midnight your time, and that's because the show is called Late Nights with Hope. So I understand not everybody is going to be up at this time of night every night. And the typical live would usually only be I usually cut it off after 2 hours, so we go from 12 to 2. I was just late this evening because I was late this evening because I didn't hop on here. I meant from 9 to Lord Jesus, not 10, 11. It's 2 hours starting at, I'm sorry. Now I'm getting sleepy. But yes, I do these lives pretty much every day. I start at 9 Pacific Standard and midnight Eastern Standard. So please pop in and show some love. We do different topics. Today was just like an open sort of deal because I just wanted to see what it was like to be on panel with people. My goal was to do a battle, but obviously that's not what the cards had in store for us tonight. And I'm actually glad because we ended up having a way better conversation than I'm sure I would have had under any battle circumstances. So if y'all like what y'all saw this evening, come back tomorrow. There'll be a different conversation, maybe a different panel, maybe some of the same folks. Because this is the conversation I like to, I like to foster. Tell a friend, come back, learn something, take something away, do the things. I post these conversations on YouTube after they're done. So if you miss the first half, you'll be able to catch it on my YouTube channel. And with that being said, I'm gonna let y'all go to sleep so I can go to sleep. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
You hope. Bye bye.